IPCC projections, you know, let's say in 30, 40, 50 years of global warming supposedly really setting in, there'll be about 165,000 deaths per year. This is according to their data that they're using, caused by it. Okay, now that sounds like a lot, but how many people die each year from malaria? 1 million, 2 million from AIDS. I mean, we're talking about 55, 56 million people a year die. Now, the figure that I just quoted would be 0.03% of the people, you know, be more people dying in the future because there's more of us. But the deaths from global warming are not commensurate with the seriousness of other environmental problems. You know, why not an all-out attack on malaria? Well, one reason malaria got so problematic again was we banned the use of DDT. You know, and so there are countries that still produce it, but DDT is very effective, especially used in small areas. And the way we misused it, spraying it everywhere, it was crazy. But malaria is a serious problem. AIDS is a serious problem. I mean, there are many, many serious environmental problems. Let me give you another example of this. What is the biggest danger to species? What's the biggest threat to species? It's not global warming. It's continued deforestation for agriculture. That's where the species go. That's why they're lost. It's not because things get warmer. In fact, did you see last year, big NASA study came out showing that the world has significantly greened in the last 25 years as things have got warmer? This is NASA. They had a big old global map and they were showing all this greening going on. Plants love CO2. In fact, according to this paper I was reading, think about this scenario. If the CO2 goes up enough, let's say we get a 2 or 3 degree temperature rise, which is, you know, within the IPCC projections, which would include a lot more carbon dioxide, you know, than we have now. There are people who predict we could do with a lot less farmland because the crops would be so much healthier and grow easier. I mean, this is also in the IPCC and related studies taking into account these kind of issues. So here's how an integral ecologist would view the hype about global warming. All right. The globe is warming. It's been warming for 150 years. It's going to keep warming as far as we can tell. We're in a dip right now where we cooled off the last 9 years, just not explicable in terms of current understanding of what's driving it. And there's a good chance we're going to see a 30-year cooling that, like the kind that took place in the 60s and 70s when people were saying we're entering a new ice age. I mean, this looks like what's happening. There's a meander as we get warmer. So we'll have a period of significant cooling. And that's not explicable in terms of the CO2 models that we're being told about. So if you're an integral ecologist, you would definitely spend time on websites which challenge the prevailing wisdom about global warming. Global warming is happening, but what's causing it? This is a big issue. How many of you are aware that there have been fewer sunspots? We're in the lowest sunspot era in 100 years. Do you know this? I mean, there's no spots on the sun. Now, the big warming that took place in the 20th century was completely correlated with a very active sun. And that means lots of sunspots. Sunspots give off tremendous amounts of heat and energy, which reach the Earth. There's no sunspot activity. It's now starting to come out in the press. People are becoming aware of it. And this could lead to, if this goes on for some time, as it has in the past, you could have a serious cooling. Now, the worst thing that could happen to us would be a serious cooling, like a mini ice age that happened in the 1700s. You know about this? I mean, that would be disastrous because you cannot grow crops of the scale that we had to grow them on to feed a population in the face of a serious cool down. So we don't really know what's going to happen. But we do know that we have serious environmental problems in addition to whatever the CO2 problem may be. I mean, I don't know for sure one way or the other about what the consequences are. But when people start telling you we have 3 years, man, I say, well, look, then that's a counsel of despair because you know we're not going to turn it around in 3 years. It's just not going to happen. There's too much momentum. We're so dependent on fossil fuels. And we absolutely need to get off fossil fuels as soon as we can. because we're going to run out of those things. I mean, peak oil, remember, was $4 something a gallon. We get the economy really revved up again. Man, that oil prices are going up, up, up. I mean, it's not a stop to it. We're going to run out of easily accessible oil. Now, that's